Okay, in this video we're going to be talking all about the lay down cue. We're going to be working with Genesis here, the 2-year-old who's been learning how to lay down on command. So a few things with the lay down. To start with, it's always a good reminder that the lay down, while called a trick, is advanced horsemanship. So there's a lot of body language as well as the actual cue that goes into it. And there are a lot of different little things that'll help with tips and tricks on it. But it is something that horses don't want to do if they're not feeling comfortable with you, comfortable in the location, if they're too distracted. You know, this is advanced horsemanship, and it's not supernatural for horses to be laying down all the time right next to you. It can make them feel vulnerable if they don't know you as well, or if you haven't been practicing it as much. A big important thing with the lay down is to make sure that wherever you're laying them down is soft, free of ants, free of burrs or stickers or anything like that. We want to make sure that it's somewhere comfortable for the horse to lay down every time. We don't want to give them a bad experience with it. It'll make it that much harder to get them to lay down in the future. You can't force the lay down as you're working it, and so you really need to make sure that if things aren't going well, that you're not getting upset or angry with the horse. You're staying calm and helping them to work through any potential problems that come up. Especially with a horse that's newer to the training, they're going to have days where they don't lay down as easily. They're going to have days where they need you to help them work through the issues. Well, you can work the lay down without any food rewards, without any treats. It is my preference to use treats. I want them to have an enjoyable time every time we work on the lay down. I want them to be excited to do it and to expect a reward from it. Okay, to start with, you're going to need something to use as your cue tool. So what I have here is a short whip. You can also use a dressage whip. This is more of a crop for riding. You can use a longer whip, but you're going to have problems with it because you're already in such close proximity to the horse. So we're going to be working in sand here today. You can also work in grass. So just recognize they might get a little more distracted from the grass. So one of the big things to remember is that the lay down cue is just as much your body language as it is the cue itself. And so oftentimes with the lay down cue, I may put a cue spot on the front of the knee with this horse, and you have to change it up with each horse depending on how they're responding to the cues and what makes sense to them. With this horse, I've got a cue on the back of the knee, and I will tap both the left and right knees, asking him to go down to both knees. As far as the body language goes, as I ask him, I'm also going to be asking him to lower his head towards the ground at the same time. And my body language is very much going to be looking down at those legs, and I stand, next to his shoulder here, right? And as I start the cue, I'm going to be focused down like this. If we're just standing here willy-nilly tapping him on the knee, it's not necessarily going to make as much sense to him. So it's the body language plus the cue itself. Okay, so notice how he already knows what I'm asking for because I'm asking him to drop his head. Now I'm going to tap here. He may turn a little bit of a circle as we go. I recognize, especially with young horses, that they may take a moment to find that spot. Okay. As we work the horse here in the lay down, you always want to be on the side that the legs are not. This is going to be your safe side. If he suddenly goes to stand, he won't hit you with the leg, okay? So we can work on sitting here with both legs on the safe side. Feed him treats. So in the future, if you were going to start trying to ride him up from the lay down, which we're not going to do at this age because he's still kind of small, just recognize that when you go to straddle him, you do not want to be sitting directly upright. You'll have problems balancing as he goes to get up. You actually want to sit along the spine. So notice how if I were to do that, that would have me slightly off center. And then you're going to hold on to mane as you go to have them stand. And you do not want to pull on their face as you go to ask them. That would be like telling them to do something and then immediately saying, no, wait, stop. Again, you can see I give food rewards throughout. And then for me personally, I use a verbal cue. And while I'm still working on it without actually riding him up, there'll be a little bit of a body language cue. But otherwise, once he's fully broke to ride and you go to ride him up, you can give a little bit of leg while giving him the verbal cue. Now there are two ways that a horse can stand from the lay down. What he just did there, where he brought his front feet out, is going to be the preferable way to encourage him to get up from the lay down. If he does it the other way, where he stays on his knees and brings the butt up, if you go to ride him up from the lay down in the future, you're going to have a much harder time sitting it, and it's going to try and throw you forward. So we always want to encourage him. We always want to encourage him to stand with his front legs coming out first. So some tips and tricks as you work through some potential issues with the lay down. One is having a horse that's having kind of a bad day and maybe isn't wanting to lay down from the cue with the crop. And then the other is the horse that wants to keep getting up too soon before they've been cued to get up, right? Or having a little impatience there. So at any time we can go back to using a rope. A lot of horses that are trained to lie down are trained using ropes in order to go down. And so we can put, and it depends on how they're trained, but for this particular horse, we can put a rope back on one of their front legs that could help if they're being sticky about the lay down in the first place. So it's kind of taking things back a step to help build their confidence again with laying down. And then if they are being impatient about getting up, you can put this rope back on just as a way to help encourage them to stay down. If they are getting up too soon, you can also just continue once they're up, ask them to lay right back down again, help them to realize that the place they get to relax is while they're staying down. But sometimes if that's happened a couple times in a row and you just need a little extra something, we can go back to putting a rope on one of their legs in order to encourage them to stay down. Now this particular horse, when he lays down, he always likes to lay down with his legs away from me, facing the right. And so what I'll actually do is I will put this rope on his front right leg, and that way when he's laying down, that's the front leg that's out. And so I can put a little pressure on it if he were to try and go to get up and swing that front leg out. I'm going to have that pressure there to say, hey, no, let's just keep staying down. You do want to use something on that leg if you're going to be using a rope that's going to be soft and comfortable. You can see this lead rope has a built-in loop, and so what I will do is bring that through. So you have the leg here, and I'm going to tighten it up on there. And that way we have something soft. It's not going to hurt or be uncomfortable as they go to lay down. We make all of this super comfortable and make this an exciting trick for them to do. Okay, so you can hopefully see here that I have added the rope to his right front foot, and then taking the lead rope up and over his back. For the purpose of showing this on video, I am going to ask him to lift up that right front foot using the rope, showing what you can do if he's having a moment of kind of not cooperating with the cue of just tapping behind the knee. So you can see how that reminder with the rope really helped to just get him to go straight down. Now at this point, I have the lead rope here. It is his right front foot that it's attached to. And so if he were to get ahead of himself and want to go to get up, all I have to do is put a little pressure on that leg so that he can't swing it out. It's going to help remind him, hey, we're staying down right now. You can see this is just a nice low stress way to be able to reinforce those cues. Oh, somebody's not feeling our treats today. And again, as you work on stuff, you can test this out. As his head comes up, he's kind of thinking about getting up. I put a little pressure on that foot there, but I could also use it where maybe if I walk around a little bit, let him get a little confused. He needs to wait for the cue to get up. Again, this helps me practice. All the while, I can leave a little pressure on that foot. You're right there. Perfect example. Okay, you went to put that leg forward. I didn't have quite enough pressure on it. Just brought it right back. So again, very low stress way to remind him, hey, we're just staying down right now. This is great for practice. You don't have to do it every time. But if you notice you're having some problems with them getting up too soon, it just helps to reinforce that behavior. These are slightly larger cookies than I usually use. He's not sure about them. All right, and when I am ready to give the cue, I can basically just stop putting pressure on that. Up. and then we'll just take the rope off. Lastly, if you'd like some resources to learn more about laying horses down on cue or teaching a horse from start to finish on how to do that, there are two really great DVDs, and I kind of do a blend from both of these trainers. The first is Ariana Sakaris, and she has a DVD in collaboration with Double Dan Horsemanship. She has a rope-free laydown method. And secondly is Alan Pogue with Imagine a Horse. He's got some really lovely training DVDs. He does use ropes for the laydown as well as the bow and a lot of other great tricks.